は小さくてもいつか大きく響かせるため転んで傷つきまた起き上がれば新しい景色が広がるからスーパーマンになる方法なんて知らないだけどイメージだけはずっと完璧さレディゴー走り続けてレディゴーこのまま行けばきっとたどり着けそうじゃん夢のかけら掴み損ねたってがむしゃらにかき集めて雨の朝も風の夜も越えてゆくのさもっともっと遠くへ
Hey guys, Samurai here, back again for Pokemon the series, Scarlet and Violet. In the last episode, Ash has just fought Katie, Nemona has just made a new rival in Quillian, Koharu has just decided to team up with Regina to take down Team Star, and Go and Arfin plan to tackle the Titans. Now we can head to modern day as it's been a couple of weeks since Ash has had his battle with Katie, and a bit of a routine has started to take place as Ash has started to teach some of the basics of battle. Today's lesson is prep time. Ash tells the students that while passion and eagerness can carry you far, it's all going to be wasted if you don't prepare accordingly. He tells them a story about when he was first in the Kalos region and how eager he was for his first gym battle, but he didn't really have a strategy or anything in mind to take it down really, and he ended up losing, but he ended up putting that passion and eagerness to good use, trained again, and won with stunning results. Now we can look to Go, as Go's not really paying attention during this lesson. He's looking at his phone, looking at info for the Titans and the Herba Mystica, with today being the day that he and Arvin plan to raid the Stony Cliff Titan. With Koharu thinking about her plans with Regina today and how they're going to raid the Team Starbase, as she remembers all the training that they did to prepare. As Nemona is paying attention with full intent, we can go to a flashback in her head where she's pestering Quillian for day in and day out for a battle, and he finally agrees only if Nemona can beat Katie in a battle. However, right before Ash can end the class, this is when the biology teacher Jock walks in with a gift for these three students. He reveals that it's 3 Tera orbs. Ash and Jock want to give a demonstration along with a minor test to make sure they're working. While Go doesn't really want to do this, Jock insists and agrees that a test battle would be applicable because they want to make sure that they work and it would be better to be safe than sorry. As they head out, they bump into Regina, and Jock actually has a gift for her too. It's a Pokeball from her father. It's a prize-winning Growlithe. This Growlithe is great in battle and is fiercely loyal. Regina ends up going to watch as her classes are over for the day and she already needs to go with Koharu. The tests begin and Ash says that they should do a 3-on-1, and Ash sends out his Cyclizar and tears it into a Dragon type. This is when Go sends out his Swooper and tears it into a Water type, and Koharu sends out her Flittle and tears it into a Flying type, and Nemona sends out one of her new Pokemon being a Rockruff, and she tears her into a Normal type. Ash is impressed by their quick learning, and they have a quick little battle, which Ash does win with ease, and he dismisses them for the day. This is when Ash and Jock head to the staff room for lunch. As they start to have a conversation about the Tera phenomenon, Jock loves it being a bio teacher. He finds it interesting and it can reveal secrets about a Pokemon. He reveals that some researchers have made an insight on the Pyroar species specifically, saying that the most common Tera type for Pyroars are actually Fighting type, which could imply a hidden gene within their biology. Ash says he loves it based purely on the fact that it can make battles so interesting. It can turn battles from arm wrestles into chess matches, as what you think could have been easy could end up being hard. They end up laughing about this of their shared interest in this new phenomenon, but this is when Jock asks Ash if he's heard about the Neo Cardinal 4. Ash has no idea who the originals were. Jack laughs at this, but he explains that the Cardinal 4 are 4 trainers based in the cardinal directions. 1 trainer in the Eastern Division, 1 trainer in the Western Division, 1 trainer in the North Division, and 1 trainer in the South Division. The original Cardinal 4, or at least the Cardinal 4 before the Neo Cardinal 4, were the Eastern Dragon Lance, the Western Diamond Steven, the Southern Idol Drake, who since his defeat to Ash in the Orange League has started to reinvigorate his training, and he ended up winning the Pokemon World Playoffs, which is a pretty prestigious title. And finally, the King of the North, Leon. Ash is amazed that such a group even existed, as he knows all these trainers separately, but to think that they exist in this kind of way is crazy to think about. Jock says that the Neo Cardinals will be 4 trainers under the age of 25, and this gets Ash excited, as even if he isn't announced as one of them, he gets to fight some new strong trainers soon. And he ends up taking his lunch on the go, and now we can go and flip over to what Koharu is doing with Regina. They're doing some training and a little bit of prep time on Regina's end to make sure their Pokemon are in tip-top shape as they get ready to head to the nearest Team Star base, which is in the outskirts of Artisan. This is when Koharu tries to ride Miraidon, but Miraidon is looking like it's gaining back its strength and can ride a bit faster now. This is when we can head to the middle of Nemona's battle with Katie, as her Quaxly and Katie's Nimble are trading blows. However, Nemona and Katie end up tying in this battle, and then the battle continues with Katie's powerful Ursaring fights Nemona's Pwami. It's a pretty intense bout, but this is when Katie tears her Ursaring into a bug type. However, Nemona remembers Ash's lesson and uses a new move being Fire Punch, ends up clutching a victory here, and Nemona gains her first badge, and she's ecstatic and is over the moon when she calls Quillian for a battle in Artisan, where he's heading for some personal business. Now we can head to Go speeding along the canyons as he seems to find a pride of Shinx led by a powerful Luxray. Go is amazed by this, but Go realizes that one of these Shinx is actually an Electrike. As Go has heard of the Manectric and its high amounts of speed, he has no electric type to cover the water type, so he decides to catch it. However, Electrike avoids the Pokeball and gets mad with Go, getting ready to battle. This is when Team Rocket strikes, as they're here for Go's Red Dragon, and they send out one of their Mons and use their machine to help capture the group of Shinx, except for Electrike, and this is when Go gets really mad, and he ends up sending out Wooper and Fuecoco to help along with Koraidon Shockwave type Roar, and Electrike is amazed to see someone fight so hard for his family. This is when it amps him up to help as well, and they help defeat Team Rocket. After the Pride gain back their strength, the leader Luxray gives a look to Electrike, almost telling it that it's time to leave the group. However, Go still wants to have a battle with Electrike for the principle of the matter, and he sends out his Wooper. The battle is pretty dynamic, as Go has learned a lot more about Wooper's biology and ends up giving Electrike minor poisoning and ends up catching it. Go does heal it after all, and Go heads to the Pokemon Center to meet Arvin, and at this point in time, Ash is at the border of Artisan, and it's filled with different artists and art appreciators. While Ash is admiring this town, saying that it would be perfect for someone like Tracy, this is when a group of people are surrounding an old man and his granddaughter, who are both painters. He's talking about the Silver Streak Pokemon to a bunch of other members of the community. They don't believe him, obviously. However, Ash is curious about what this Pokemon is. So they tell Ash the story. They were painting a cornucopia of berries, until only for a Pokemon to ambush them, steal their berries. However, they could barely see the Pokemon, and when the granddaughter of the old man tried to fight it, it just slashed the air and created a gust that knocked everyone out. The painter's granddaughter introduces herself as Alice and her grandpa as Carlos. Alice tells Ash that the reason why they wanted to ask people is so that they can paint it again, but they need powerful trainers. Ash gives kind of a cocky smirk and says that he'll be glad to help them out, as he gets an opportunity to fight a new Pokemon. So the gang set up a trap. So the plan between Ash, Alice, and Carlos is basically Carlos would set up a new cornucopia of berries and other assortment items that Pokemon really like to eat. This is when Alice and the Trapinch would dig a hole so that the Pokemon would fall in and couldn't run away so easily. This is when she would switch out for Ash, who would battle the Silver Streak, and so they set the plan into motion. The plan starts out working really well as the Silver Streak returns, as it's a Pokemon Ash has never seen before. This is when Alice tries to dig, however the Pokemon is very savage and nature, and it attacks relentlessly, only for Ash to push Alice out harm's way, which she does blush to. However, Ash engages the Silver Streak as Carlos begins to paint the Pokemon, which this Pokemon is known as Iron Valiant, so I might call it Iron Valiant or Silver Streak, but this is just so it's easier on me. But the characters don't know that yet. Ash's battle with the Silver Streak or Iron Valiant is intense to say the least, as neither side is backing down, but Ash's experience with Pikachu ends up prevailing. But as soon as they start to turn the tables and gain a victory, and Ash gives Pikachu a berry so it can regain its strength, this is when the Silver Streak disappears from sight, and Ash wondering where it could have gone to. But honestly, he can't think about this for too long, as he meets the gym leader Brassius at this moment, who commends Ash on an excellent battle, telling him that it was like seeing a mirror come to life. Brassius actually heard of Ash from Katie, as he was the one who taught her Teddy Ursa how to use Trailblaze. He's really excited to fight Ash, and the battle will take place in around 3 hours. This is when we can go to see what's happening with Koharu and Regina, as they have finally made it to this Team Starbase. They get close, but they encounter a character, this student who goes by the name of Clyde. He has quite the haircut, and he says that he's been wanting to take down Team Star for a while now, but he's more of a supporter and less than a battler. This is when Cassiopeia calls and tells them again, saying that the Team Starbase raid requires they beat all 30 grunts before fighting any admins. Koharu, who is very cocky due to her 2 wins and her training, says that this victory will be assured for them. This is when they enter. At first, it's very challenging. Of course, you're fighting like 5 trainers at once, but they do end up making it to around half before Regina recommends they switch out their Pokemon. Koharu sends out her Flittle, and Regina sends out her new Growlithe. And Clive heals Sprigatito and Glaceon. They finally get through to the boss being Mila. She represents the passion of the fire type. Koharu calls for a battle with Mila, and Mila accepts, obviously, as they've ended up being 30 grunts, and they've earned this challenge. So the battle begins, and it's kind of a wash on Koharu's end, as she can't do anything, as Sprigatito has a major type disadvantage to Torkoal, along with a major experience disadvantage. Sprigatito is knocked out, and this surprises Koharu as she didn't expect to lose her ace Pokemon this early in, but she ends up sending out her Flittle, which makes little to no difference, as there's nothing it can really do here, and she ends up losing again. This is when she ends up being shooken and almost scared, and Regina, who's also shooken by Koharu's almost immediate loss, is about to begin to challenge Mila to a battle as well, as they're almost about to get overwhelmed. This is when a trainer jumps off of a Noivern and descends down. It's Quillian, and he's calling for Mila. When everyone asks what Quillian and her relation to Mila is, he reveals to everyone that it's his younger cousin, and he originally came here for another reason, but he heard that his cousin was made it quite far in Team Star, and at the time he just ignored it when she first joined, but now that the members might get expelled, he knows that he has to save her. But the only way to get a leader to leave Team Star is beating them in a battle. This is when the grunts jump him, and Quillian laughs for a minute and sends out 2 Pokemon in order to challenge them, this being his Scizor and a Sneasel, who in a matter of minutes take out 30 grunts, and he explains that being number 1 in the academy isn't just for show. This is when he sends out a new Pokemon of the name of Frogadier. This is when him and Mila engage into a battle. The battle is ferocious to start out, but Mila ends up getting swept by Quillian, as even though it's just been 3 weeks, his battle with Ash allowed him to realize his weaknesses, and he did some intense training with not only the champion, but with members of the Elite Four. So Quillian tells Mila to stop these foolish games, and if she pulls a stunt like this again, she would be sorry, and Mila ends up leaving the base depressed, and Clive ends up leaving as well in secret. This is when Quillian ends up flying Koharu and Regina to Artazone as they need to heal their Pokemon. Meanwhile, Go and Arvin have just encountered the Stony Cliff Titan, Cloth, as they engage in a battle, but similar to Koharu, Go's overconfidence might end up being his undoing here, as they're doing a bit better, but as soon as Cloth goes into its berserk kind of state once you push it far enough and move erratically, it puts Go and Arvin on the ropes. But this is when someone shouts out Bubble Beam. It's Danica of the Student Council. Her Azumarill shows its strength and helps them beat Cloth as they encounter the sweet Herba Mystica. Arvin makes a sandwich with some of it, and Danica and Go take samples of it. This is when Arvin releases a Pokeball and reveals a sick Mabostiff. He explains that his Mabostiff is the sole reason he's battling the Titans, as it's been with him for a long time. He reads that the sweet herba mystica can help with digestion and the throat. This is when Koharu manages to snag some of it, much to Arvin's annoyance. This is when Arvin asks both Go and Danica the reason for beating the Titans. Danica responds saying that it's her goal to write some sort of novel about the herba mystica and wanted to study the Guardians. And Go says that he wants to make a special lore for Mew, which surprises the both of them, but they end up accepting his goal nonetheless. This is when Danica finally lets the boys have it for being unprepared, saying that even though they did manage to win, they weren't doing that hot until she came in here. Go remembers the lesson of Ash about preparedness, and at the same time, Koharu also realizes this as well, as they realize what Ash was really talking about. However, Danica recommends they head to Artisan, as there's a Pokemon Center there, so they can heal their Pokemon, and they can make plans to fight the other Titans. This is when Sada would call Go and say that Koraidon has gained some of its strength and should move a bit faster now. This is when we can go to see Ash doing some training. This is when Alice joins him on his training, and Alice asks Ash what's the point of this type of training. Ash says that each Pokemon has a different way to encourage it to do its best, and each Pokemon needs some sort of special treatment in the way that brings out its own true strength. This is when we can see that Ash says, for example, Wattrel needs you to match its energy, which in Wattrel's case is constantly being amped up. For Charcadet, you basically need to keep it zen most of the time and keep its mind clear to help with the performance anxiety. For Cyclizar, it just needs to be reminded of its strength and pride as a dragon, so like most dragon types, give it some sort of grand entrance call will do the trick. Alice is amazed that Ash knows his Pokemon so well despite having them for only 2 months. Ash says that he took notes from 2 of his friends, one of them being a connoisseur that he traveled with in Unova, and the other being a breeder. Now at the Artisan Pokemon Center, Team Titan, which is Go, Arvin, and Danica, and Team Starfall plus Quillian, have just ended up having a discussion until Nemona barges into the room with an announcement. She yells that Ash's gym battle is about to start, and everyone rushes out to the battlefield. Quick note, Ash was also training some of his old Pokemon, so if you see like Charizard there, he's not going to use it in any gym battles, but it is just training it to be like modern Charizard, if that makes sense. Anyways, back to the video. Everyone rushes to the battlefield, and the battle between Ash and Brassius is about to begin. Brassus leads out with his Petalil, and Ash leads with Charcadet. Now, interestingly enough, Ash's influence in the training beforehand helps Charcadet out here a lot by keeping its mind clear, but almost out of nowhere, Nemona shouts her support for Charcadet, and this ends up bringing back Charcadet's performance anxiety. And Ash is not fazed by this for long, as he remembers for Charcadet to use his Spinning Ember to knock out Petalil. However, Brassius is only amped up by this, saying that Art has a bunch of twists and turns, and he gets ready to send out his next Pokemon, being Smoliv. Now, unlike most Smoliv, Brassius' Smoliv is actually kind of bold and not shy, and it uses a similar Leafish Wave technique to Koharu. However, Ash is not deterred and commands Charcadet to do his crazy dodging, which works for a time, but this does exhaust Charcadet over time, and Brassius, seeing an opportunity, uses the move Mega Drain to give him a victory here. This is when Ash sends out his Wattrel, and the battle is pretty intense, because again, unlike other Smoliv, Brassius' Smoliv is pretty bold and clashes with Wattrel, but Wattrel does manage to come out on top here with a well-placed wing attack. Brassius starts laughing hysterically, saying that this battle has brought back a new type of passion for a new piece, and he ends up sending out his Sudowoodo, and it uses the move Trailblaze along with Slam and knocks out an exhausted Wattrel due to the bout it had with Smoliv. However, Ash doesn't seem too worried about this for a minute, as Ash sends out his Cyclizar, which is one of his fastest current Pokemon. The two Pokemon clash with Quick Attack and Trailblaze. However, Ash and Cyclizar are noting that they're not moving as fast as Sudowoodo, as Trailblaze speeds up the Pokemon for every move. This is when Ash and Cyclizar starts to get blitzed, as Sudowoodo's too fast to even keep up with, and Cyclizar ends up taking more damage than Ash would like. However, this is when Ash closes his eyes and does something that he hasn't done in a while since Scarlet. He gets in true sync with Cyclizar. Being in true sync allows for both trainer and Pokemon to perceive the world a bit differently and gain new strengths. This is when they can observe both Sudowoodo as trainer and Pokemon, and they could observe its movements. This is when out of nowhere Ash roars for Cyclizar to use a full power Trailblaze with a Breaking Swipe, and it surprises everyone. Due to Ash going in full sync with his Pokemon at this point and this early, the move only ends up getting a 10 times boost at this point, but this is more than enough to give Ash the victory here. Ash thanks his Pokemon for a gym battle well fought, and as the students go to talk to Ash, the Iron Valiant or the Silver Streak is seen from watching at the top of the canyon before it leaps off to go do something else. A couple of hours later, near the evening, Brassius actually has a question for Ash while they're at the Pokemon Center. He basically asks for Ash if he'd be willing to take a Pokemon off their hands, as this Smoliv has not been taken as a starter due to his hasty and somewhat stubborn personality. However, Ash already agrees, saying that a Pokemon who's stubborn is just his type, and Smoliv is really excited to finally have a trainer. Now we can finally go to Quillian vs Nemona. The battle begins as Nemona sends out her Quaxly and Quillian sends out only one Pokemon, this being his Scizor. As the battle begins, Quaxly's moves only bounce off of Scizor and is more like an annoyance than a threat. And this is with a single Flash Cannon. Quaxly is rendered unable to battle. Nemona is not shaken up by this, trying to imitate Ash's attitude, and she sends out her Rockruff, trying to continually use brute force, but yet again, she can't do a single thing. And with a single Brick Break later, Rockruff is knocked out. This is with Nemona being her last Pokemon, shouts out that she's gonna win with her Kwami. This is when Quillian laughs, saying that Ash forgot to teach her one of the fundamentals of battling. This being what happens when you lose so bad in a landslide. However, he's willing to teach her the harsh truth of battling. This is when the battle continues on, and it's a battle that's decently intense on Nemona's part. For Quillian, this is nothing new for him, and as Nemona tears her Kwami into a fighting type. However, Quillian doesn't even need to do that, and he ends up using a single Air Slash, and Kwami is knocked out, leaving Nemona devastated, as Quillian says that if she wants to be anyone's rival, she'll need to up her game by a lot, because she's no champion in the making for right now. And this is when Nemona runs off without even talking to anybody. Ash, originally going to go for her, notices how each one of his students are going to need a different curriculum and different ways of teaching, along with different fundamentals to learn. This will all be covered next time on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the series. Hey guys, this is me, Normal Samurai, talking. I'm going to be taking a break for like the next 2 weeks, as not only is Eid coming up, but finals are coming up, and I would like to focus on those. Not to mention, I've been editing all these episodes back to back, so I would just like a little break. But I'll be back around the end of April to bring a new video to y'all. Without that being said, Samurai out.